They assumed she was just another passenger, another well-dressed traveler boarding a long-haul international flight. What they didn't know, what they failed to see, was that she was their most important client and their final warning. You'd think someone like Valerie Monroe would be hard to miss. 46 years old, a striking black woman with long braids swept into a clean bun, dressed in a tailored cream-colored pantsuit that seemed molded to her figure. She didn't flaunt wealth or wave power around like a flag. She didn't wear oversized logos or trail an entourage. Just a slim leather tote, a well-used phone, and an unmistakable aura of composure. Confidence not born of arrogance, but certainty. The kind that didn't beg for respect because it had already earned it. But in certain spaces, certain boarding gates, certain cabins at 36,000 feet, it didn't matter how powerful you were if they didn't think you belonged. That Thursday afternoon, Valerie stood quietly at Gate D11 in Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. Not LAX, not LaGuardia MSP. She preferred it that way. Less buzz, less drama, fewer wide-eyed social climbers trying to pretend they recognized her. She liked anonymity until it became selective amnesia. The gate agent called for first class, and Valerie moved forward with practiced ease. No flash, no extra motion. Her boarding pass scanned with a polite beep and a green light. The young man at the scanner glanced at her briefly before forcing out a mechanical smile. "Enjoy your flight, Miss Monroe." She didn't correct him. Didn't say Dr. Monroe, or actually, "I'm CEO Monroe," or "I built the financial security algorithm behind the booking system you're using." Because Valerie understood something far more powerful than titles. When you already know who you are, you don't need to remind anyone else. She chose seat 1A, as always the window. Not for the view, but the solitude. The buffer it provided from unnecessary chatter. The flight to Zurich would be long, but she'd endured worse 48-hour marathons negotiating with Emirati banks, red-eye meetings in Singapore while her body screamed for rest. This was a routine hop by comparison. As she settled in, she reached into her tote and retrieved a folder marked Zurich Summit. Inside, the keynote address she would deliver at the International FinTech Innovation Summit, 35 minutes on AI-based equity models and decentralized infrastructure in underserved regions. Every word, graph, and transition was her own. She never delegated speeches about equity. Across the aisle, a man in a frumpy Patagonia jacket grunted as he tried to jam his overstuffed carry-on into the overhead bin. He glanced at Valerie, as if expecting her to shift or help or acknowledge his struggle. She didn't. Just blinked, then returned her eyes to her notes. The rest of first class filtered in slowly: a woman in overpriced athleisure, an older man with a MAGA hat and a mouth that reeked of scotch, a mother calming a toddler already beginning to kick the seat ahead. And finally, the straggler, a disheveled man in a rumpled shirt, red-faced and breathless, who flopped into 1C with the energy of someone who didn't belong there and knew it. Flight attendants began their usual performance. Smiles, jokes, offers of pre-departure drinks. A woman named Sierra Young, overly cheerful, leaned toward Valerie with a notepad. "Can I get you something to start, Miss Monroe?" "Still water. Room temperature, please." Sierra blinked, the kind of blink that said, "That's weird." Then she nodded, scribbled, and moved on without a word. Valerie wasn't surprised. She knew that blink well. The performance of politeness layered over a crackling undertone of judgment. She checked her email. Nothing urgent. She powered her phone down, placed it gently in the seat back pocket, and let herself breathe. The plane lifted smoothly. The cabin settled. Most of first class relaxed into mild buzz or quiet recline. Valerie stayed upright, focused. Her mind was already in Zurich panel prep, data briefs, and a private meeting with the Swiss Development Fund scheduled 48 hours after landing. And yet, underneath all of it, something was off. Not wrong. Just taut. Like a single thread had snagged on something sharp, and if it tugged even slightly, the whole fabric might unravel. The man across the aisle leaned out, holding his sparkling water like a prop. "Got anything stronger?" He chuckled to a passing attendant. Andrew, tall, square-jawed, too familiar. Andrew grinned, offered bourbon. "Say when." The man winked. "You'll know." They shared a laugh like old pals at a bar. Not disrespectful, but revealing. Valerie had seen that kind of exchange her entire life. It wasn't about charm. It was about comfort. The silent, unwritten bond of those who belong versus those who were tolerated. Sierra returned with drinks for rows 2 and 3. A Coke for 1C. Then kept walking. No glance at Valerie. No water. Not even a pause. Valerie waited. Perhaps she forgot. Perhaps she'd return. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Nothing. She pressed the call button. A soft ding. Andrew appeared a moment later, smile intact. Yes, MS. Monroe. I requested still water earlier. I haven't received it. He blinked. Let me check with the galley. She nodded. Calm. Firm. Not emotional. Another 10 minutes. More snacks distributed. A wine refill for the woman 2 rows ahead. A small dessert for 1C. Still no water. Andrew reappeared, sheepish. I'm so sorry. We've run out of still. We have sparkling or club soda if you prefer. You ran out? She asked, unmoving. Yes. The cabin went through it quicker than expected. Valerie's eyes narrowed. I requested it before we took off. I understand. It's fine, she said, cutting him off. That'll be all. But it wasn't fine. 2 rows ahead, the woman in yoga gear now had a second bottle of still water. Unopened. Valerie said nothing. She didn't need the water anymore. She needed the truth. Dinner service began. The man across the aisle, who hadn't pre-ordered a meal, was offered chicken, then pasta. He chose chicken, joked about it. Sierra laughed. It's one of the good ones. Valerie's meal? Missing. She had pre-ordered days in advance. Gluten-free, soy-free, plant-based. Allergies, not preferences. Not optional. When Sierra reached her row, she smiled as if reading from a script. I'm so sorry, MS. Monroe. Looks like your meal wasn't loaded properly. We have a pasta entree available. Does it contain gluten? Valerie asked. It does, but I'm allergic to wheat. Oh. I'll check what else we can find. 35 minutes later, a plate with 3 slices of apple and a lemon wedge. No tray. No apology. Just fruit. Where's your supervisor? She asked evenly. She's assisting in economy. I'll let her know you requested her. Do that. She never came. Valerie stared at the untouched fruit. Her tray table was clean. Her email drafts weren't. She pulled out her phone. Open notes. Flight 887. MSP to ZRH. First class. Special meal request ignored. Allergy disclosed in advance. Still water request denied. No supervisor contact. She began listing names. Sierra L. Andrew M. Then she took photos off the plate, of the lit service button, of the screen showing her seat number. She composed a new email. Subject: Flight 887 Incident Equity Clause Concern. Addressed to Novant Systems General Counsel and VP of Ops. Novant Systems, the predictive analytics company she founded and led. The same company Horizon Airlines had been courting for 6 months for a major systems integration. A $90 million contract to overhaul their customer service platform. She wrote, succinctly, recommending immediate pause on Horizon Systems rollout pending review of contract compliance with service equity clause. Incident on current flight indicates misalignment between stated policy and in-flight execution. She saved it, not sent. Yet, the man in 1C was now halfway through his 3rd drink, shoes off, talking about exit strategies. She didn't hear the details. She didn't need to. He had no idea what power really looked like. Valerie hit send. She didn't feel triumphant. She felt resolute. The plane landed in Zurich in soft morning light. Passengers stretched. Crew smiled. No apology. No water. No meal. No supervisor. Valerie stood, calm, and exited. As she stepped into the terminal, her phone buzzed. Message from Novant VP of Ops. Understood. Contract hold initiated. Legal drafting clause revision. Horizon will be notified this morning. She tucked the phone into her pocket. Later that day, her phone rang again. MS. Monroe, this is Kenneth Ward from Horizon's Corporate Partnerships Division. I just wanted to say, we deeply regret. You're not calling to apologize, Valerie said. You're calling because the deal is at risk. I can assure you. Don't assure me. Show me. She hung up. No press release. No social post. No lawsuit. Just pressure. Applied exactly where it hurt most. 2 days later, an internal memo leaked. Flight 887. Cabin crew under review. Suspension pending. breach of service expectations. The whispers spread. By the time Valerie took the stage at the FinTech Innovation Summit, the room buzzed with silent recognition. But she never mentioned the flight. Not once. Instead, she spoke of systemic design, digital fairness, and the cost of overlooking the invisible. The applause was long. Not for vengeance. For clarity. Weeks later, she declined Horizon's offer to fly her home, complimentary. She took a competitor. The same airline that had once lost the bid. They offered her water the moment she sat down. Still. Room temp. No hesitation. And they said her name correctly. That was all she ever asked. Back at Novant, a company-wide memo went out. We hold our partners to the same standards we expect from ourselves. Equity is not optional. No hashtags. No spotlight. Just standards. Months later, Valerie spoke on a panel about quiet leadership. A young black woman approached her after. You didn't yell, she whispered. You didn't post. You just moved differently. And it worked. Valerie smiled gently. The most powerful thing you can do, she said, is make them explain themselves to a room they respect more than they respect you. And with that, she turned, walked into the night, and got back to building the future one quiet shift at a time.